Hi family, welcome to African Esquire TV. I'm your host, Janie Cherie. I was very pleased whenever I seen a video pop up on my news feed from a Ferguson activist along with Mike Brown's father, demanding that Black Lives Matter is going to need to pay up for local efforts that are happening in Ferguson. So I'm going to play this video if you have not seen it, and then let's talk about it.
Greetings. I'm Tory Russell, Ferguson frontline organizer, and on the behalf of many activists in the St. Louis area, I'm joined with Mike Brown Sr., the father of Mike Brown Jr. Today, we hold Black Lives Matter accountable. The movement that is catapulted into the limelight has forgotten about Ferguson and the freedom fighters. Freedom fighters like King D. Seals, Edward Crawford, and Danye Jones have literally given their lives to the struggle, but are rarely spoken about and families are not taken care of. Brother Ali, Joshua Williams, and many other political prisoners from the Ferguson movement are incarcerated or have been and still has received no assistance from Black Lives Matter. What kind of movement are we building where we're saying Black Lives Matter, but the freedom fighters and the families are being left behind? Where is our restitution? Where is our organizing? Where is our building of a movement? We have groups like the Lost Voices and the Freedom Fighters here, and thousands of other youth activists in their 20s and 30s have been out in the streets protesting for months and months and years for years. Still forgotten. We're asking that Black Lives Matter leadership funds $20 million to Ferguson organizers, organizations, and community foundations to do the work. We're not begging for a handout. We're coming for what we deserve. Today, as we demand the $20 million to go to Ferguson as restorative measures so we can continue what we started, here's what we'll be organizing. Annual commemorations around Mike Brown Jr.'s life, mutual aid programs, Black Panther-style programs and services to meet the needs of the people, community gardens and forums, and also organizing fellowships and stipends so we can fight white supremacy full time. This is what we started in Ferguson, and this is what we will continue.
Talk about the important issues that are happening with regard to this, and it's really not just Ferguson. This is something that has just become a trend, and not even starting with Ferguson, from way back when. There's always been a situation where you have people who are suffering under oppression, and we're talking about African people in this situation. So you have African people suffering under oppression, and that the people who get the momentum to build organizations, and then those organizations become supported by the mainstream, those people basically capitalize on the misery of others. This is not a new situation. This is not a unique situation. This is something that our people are unfortunately always dealing with, because we're oftentimes unwilling to hold accountable people who speak for us. A lot of the leaders who will go into these meetings and say, oh, I represent so-and-so. Oh, I'm the person who, I'm the politician, a congressman, a representative of this district. I'm the person who is going to speak on this issue of mass incarceration. We're just not accountable. We don't hold these people accountable, rather. We allow these people to go on CNN and go on MSNBC and pose as being for Black liberation, and then those people go right back in and with that check that they got from wherever speaking engagement they went to, and they go on and live their merry lives while our communities are still in the situations that they are in. Our communities are in misery. Our people are suffering. Is that I believe that if you have a specific effort that you're trying to raise money for that effort. But if you're going to raise money for just your organization, and the organization has no programs, the organization has no reach on the ground, that's actually very compromising. And that's something that I've personally tried to stay away from, because I understand that there's a real issue with our people being beholden to the capital, letting that be our motivating force. We have to keep these things very separate from us. That is my opinion. We have to make sure that any resources that are being donated to our cause are going directly to that cause, not going to us having a nice building, office building, not going to us. And that's obviously you need an office, but do you have to have these fancy devices? Do you have to be inside of this very gentrified side of town? Not going towards those things, going towards building on the ground. Do you think that the Black Panther Party was given all these donations that Black Lives Matter was given? Absolutely not. And when you have a people who are able to do a lot with little, that tells you just how much this money is being being pumped right back into the capitalist system that's oppressing our people. But we don't want that to happen. We want that money to be pumped back into our communities. We want that money to be pumped back into our initiatives. We want that money to be used for furthering our liberation. Understand we are handicapped by this system to where we are beholden to capitalist interests, but that's why we have to be very specific that any funds that we are using, that money is specifically going towards the liberation. If it's not going towards the liberation, then it's just going to the complicity of our people being inside of the system. So I'm very happy, and I encourage our other people, wherever we see people speaking out for us, wherever we see organizations that are gaining momentum from our oppression, let's make a real intentional effort to start holding these people accountable. Hold their feet to the fire. There was a lot of people who were telling us to vote for Joe Biden. How many of us who are close to those people, meaning how many of us who are in the organizations that these people are the heads of, how many of us that are locally situated to these people, how many of us went to those people and said, okay, you just basically betrayed us. You allowed this man to talk so reckless to you without even promising to do anything. How are we going to start holding those people accountable? And then whenever you go even further into the activist realm, how many of those people are we going to start saying, why are you accepting something on our behalf that does not reach us? Until we're holding these people to the fire, then we're going to allow this situation to keep continuing. We should have people very afraid to take advantage of our liberation. We should have people very worried because they know that the backlash that comes with it is not worth it. That's the only way you're going to weed out these people who have complex interests. That's the only way you're going to deter them from continuing on the situation where they're going to take from you and not give back. That's the only way. And so I'm very encouraged by this move. I would like to know your thoughts on this. Hey, am I being too critical of these movements? Because I understand that it's very hard to build a movement. I just have a real issue when I don't see funds being used in very practical ways, and particularly by the local communities. It's very easy to mobilize, but it's not easy to organize. And there are people who are on the ground organizing. Why are we not putting emphasis on the organizers, but we're putting emphasis on the mobilizers? These are all questions that I think we should ask. So that's all I have. I will see you all in the next video. Hey family, this is Tierney Cherie. I'm here to make an announcement that I'm very, very excited to make. I'm excited because I really think this is something that is important for our people. Otherwise, I would not have devoted so much time and energy towards it. So I finished my first book, and the book title is Fostering False Identity: The Child Welfare System's Design of Social Control of the Black Family. Now, why is this book something that I think will be very important for our community? Well, number one, it's dealing with the system of white supremacy, particularly the way that the system has targeted our children. If you don't know, our children are literally our future. Without our children, we have no future. And so understand that the system is very crafty when figuring out what to derail first. And to me, it's no mistake that the system particularly went after the Black family. If you look at what happened whenever we were enslaved by this system, and continues to go after the Black family, continues to go after Black children, continues to try to villainize African parents. So for that, I wanted to particularly talk about this subject. Now, the other thing that the book will deal with is our African identities. Why is it that our African identities are a threat to the system? Why is it that whenever we want to identify ourselves as being African, we get so much drawback inside of the Black community? I think a lot of us are not aware of the history of assimilationist thought inside of our community, this idea that we have to be close to white in order to be accepted. And so that's another subject that we delve into in this book. So I'm hoping that anyone who is, obviously, if you're a parent, a Black parent and you really want to understand why it is that these systems are going after your children, I encourage you to read this book. I hope that it will arm you with a lot of knowledge and a lot of foresight, not just about how to protect your own children, but how to organize in your community, because that's really the purpose of the book, is to say that we have to organize among ourselves in order to protect ourselves from this white supremacist system. And then obviously, if you're an organizer in general, this is something that I think is important for you to read, because like I said, this is a subject in the Black community that we just don't discuss enough. Child welfare is not something that is going to get enough attention. People obviously will organize them around other causes, but this is one that is really important that I feel like we have to pay more attention to.